Hey guys, Tyler here, and this is the Garage Warrior podcast and videocast, and I'm super excited today to have on the call with me Chad Tackett. How's it going today, Chad?
It's going really well, thanks.
Yeah, man, really appreciate you taking the time to get on the call and kind of share your wisdom with us. But before we get started, there's probably some people on the call scratching their heads going, who's this Chad Tackett fella? And so can you give us like a 50,000 mile overview of who Chad is and what he's hoping to teach people?
Yeah, sure. So just a little background on me. I have a degree in exercise science and nutrition from Oregon State University. I graduated back in '94, and from that day I graduated, I started managing a gym and starting a personal training business. And in my private, I guess, personal training business, one of my clients started talking to me about this crazy thing called the internet. This is back in 1995, before most people even heard of the internet or even had email or anything like that.
Right.
And so I started kind of dreaming up ways of how I could take what I was teaching people, in the gym and in my, personal business to kind of an online program where we could help people with their meal plans, their workouts, answer all the questions, hold them accountable, that type of thing. So I couldn't really sleep for quite a while. I was pretty passionate about trying to get this idea out there. So I spent about a year creating workouts and meal plans and coming up with an idea where I could consult with people online 24 hours a day around the world. And so I launched the first program back in 1996. And so I've been doing this, helping people online on the internet with, losing weight, getting fit, being healthier for almost 20 years now. I think it'll be 19 years in April. So that's what I've been doing ever since, just, developing new workouts and meal plans and consulting programs and loving the opportunity to help people, from all different walks of life and sizes and demographics and stuff. So it's been a really good time.
That's fantastic. I didn't realize you had almost been online for 20 years. That's a mark of achievement, man. I mean, like there's not really many people who could say even 10 years, let alone almost
Yeah.
20. What made
Yeah.
you push really hard in the beginning? I imagine you had to do a lot of things that people don't have to do these days when it comes to getting started online. Now we can just go to WordPress and this and that. I'm sure you had to learn a lot of technical skills in order to be able to do what you had to do.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things at the very beginning where a lot of people were saying, this internet thing is just going to be a fad and there's no way you can make money online. And this is before Amazon and, all the big companies that
Right.
were, making a lot of money. So I'm sure you're the same way. When anyone tells you that you can't do something, it gets you pretty motivated to prove them wrong. So, yeah, I became pretty passionate about doing that. And, fitness and living well and, eating right and stuff, it's just been a passion of mine. And so getting the right information out to people is really, really important to me. There's just, as there's so many misconceptions and myths and stuff that are really confusing a lot of people. So I'd love to kind of spread the truth.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. I'm glad you mentioned that because one of the themes I like to kind of hit on my podcast is the misconceptions that people are being told. Because like you just said, there's a lot of really big companies and really big marketing out there telling us to do one thing, and then a lot of guys like you and me are out there saying maybe that's not the right thing to do. Maybe you should do something else. So, can you tell us some of these myths that you're seeing in the fitness industry that maybe we should be avoiding at our best we can?
Yeah, sure. Well, I guess one that comes right to mind is the whole low carb craze. I mean, I think I think there's good carbs and there's bad carbs. I mean, there's definitely carbs that you want to decrease, those that are really processed and refined, that have
Sure.
that are higher in calories and lower nutritional value. And then there's carbs that actually really support fat loss and good health and energy in general. And those are what we call the natural carbs. Anything that's picked from a ground or a tree, fruits and vegetables, beans, legumes, oats, stuff like that. So, a lot of people when they start our program or they, email us questions or whatever, they're saying, I'm really struggling with this low carb diet. Can you help me with all that? I'm just like, man, it really shouldn't be a low carb diet. It should be a low processed carb diet, but really focus on choosing the right type of carbs, such as, those natural carbs that I just mentioned, and combining them with, a lean protein source and a healthy fat. And when you do that, you're really supporting fat loss rather than depriving yourself of the nutrients and making it really hard to stick to a program because you're totally depleted of energy and you're getting dizzy and lightheaded. A lot of those symptoms that I hear people say they struggle with. So that's one of the misconceptions that comes to my mind that we battle with all the time.
Yeah, that's so true. Is it just me, Chad, or does it seem like people tend to go from one extreme to the other? So it's like either it's a low-fat diet, or it's a low-carb, high-fat diet, or it's the low-carb diet, or it's the no-carb diet. Like it seems like everybody just goes back and forth so much, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think, in all these different types of fads, all the different whether it's low fat or low carb, and all of them, you're just really decreasing, calories. So, but the problem is if you're totally depleting yourself of any of those nutrients, they all have a purpose in your nutrition, right? Whether it's fat or carbs or protein. And so getting rid of or going really low on any of those isn't the right strategy. And sure, you'll lose weight, in the short term because ultimately, creating a greater caloric deficit, consuming less calories than you expend. But it's just really not realistic that you're going to stick with it. And if you're depriving your body of any of those one nutrients, all that have an important purpose, then you're just kind of setting yourself up for failure in the long term. So what we really try to teach people is to choose the right type of foods in the right combinations all at the right times of the day. And when you do that and create that caloric deficit, just be more active and choose the right foods together, then you're really setting yourself up for long-term success rather than, really depleting yourself of energy or having no fats. So that, all of the different things when you go really low extreme to any one of those types of foods.
Right. Well, that's a good thing to talk about right now because you kind of mentioned a theme over and over again just there, which was long-term success, consistency, and so on and so forth. And it seems like one of the big kind of fallacies we're seeing in the fitness industry is that everybody wants instantaneous results. They want the fat loss pill that burns 20 pounds of fat in 30 days, and they want the diet that drops fat. And a lot of these things might actually work in the short term, but in the long term, they don't actually support health. They don't actually support a long-term lean body. So having been in the fitness industry online for nearly 20 years, what do you think are the most integral factors in consistency when it comes to transforming people's bodies so they can look, feel, and perform their best?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is actually not depriving yourself of the foods that you love. Because when if you absolutely love desserts, for example, and you totally give up desserts for and just say, I'm sick of this, I'm sick of being overweight, I want to be healthy, I want to be fit, I'm going to totally give up cheesecake, for the rest of my life. That's just not realistic. I mean, life is short, it should be enjoyed. And so a better strategy is to find healthier ways that you can, kind of transform that cheesecake. So instead of using butter and cream cheese, you're using Greek yogurt cottage cheese, for example. It actually tastes really good, but you're getting a lot more nutritional value and you're getting less calories. So it's just making simple substitutions that foods that you enjoy, but you can actually stick with it long term. Because if you're not, really, what's the point of being lean and fit if you're, going out to eat and you're having to always order a salad or always just, you're not really enjoying yourself with your friends and family. But if you can make small, simple changes and go out, I think that's the key, is striking a balance between effective and really enjoying yourself. And that's what makes it long term.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. I always notice that people who are able to create that balance between, like the having rules within their diet, but not being so tight that they can't kick their heels up and have a beer or, some, like you said, some dessert. Like that it's not a long-term thing. You can maybe hold it down for a few months, but not for the long run. So what is it that you actually have as your nutrition philosophy? Do you tailor to people individually based on where they're coming from or what kind of body fat percentage they have? Or do you kind of have a general approach for everyone and then you kind of adjust things as you move forward?
Yeah, we give people general guidelines that they should follow. So we have kind of a list and chart of how to choose the right types of foods at the right time specific to you so that they fit your budget, your schedule, your personal preferences. And then that makes it realistic long term. Because if I'm setting rules or I'm giving you a diet plan that says, all right, for lunch you got to have a chicken breast and spinach and a glass of milk. Well, you might be lactose intolerant and you might hate spinach. So, how helpful is that? And is it at all realistic to stick with it? No. So what we tell people is, all right, for lunch you want to choose a natural starchy carb, a natural fibrous carb, starchy carb being like potatoes, oats, beans, that type of thing, a fibrous carb being like vegetable, and then just choose a protein source and a healthy fat. And we give everyone the list, we give them the guidelines depending on what type of day it is, and then they're just going through the list and choosing the foods that fit into their schedule. So they go down the list and they see under proteins, they see, chicken, fish, shrimp, cottage cheese, different food sources like that, and they're like, oh, okay, I have chicken in the refrigerator, it's already grilled up, so I would choose that, and then I'll select, for my fibrous carb, I'll choose, spinach salad, or, grilled broccoli, or whatever. And so they're always, no matter what time of the day it is, they have the guidelines to just simply choose the foods that follow those guidelines that fit for them, both their budget, any food allergies they have, their personal preferences, and stuff like that. So we try to make it super simple just by following simple guidelines that really fit into their lifestyle, rather than saying you got to eat this at this time, you got to eat that at that time, which I don't think it is all realistic, and that's why so many people fail, after a month or after 6 weeks or whatever.
It's just too strict, right? It's just too many rules and boundaries.
Exactly.
So it sounds like you're just really trying to create a balanced approach to people's nutrition, and it doesn't sound like you're trying to do anything extreme either way. Just like, hey, eat real food, eat some healthy carbs, eat some healthy fats, eat some protein. Do you guys typically recommend 3 meals a day, things like that?
Well, we say, our if we have, an ideal recommendation would be 5 meals a day, 5 smaller meals a day. But we also show people, like, some people can only eat 3 or only want to eat 3 meals a day. Some people want to eat 6 or 7, and that's totally fine. We just adjust the portions and the guidelines to however many meals per day is realistic for their lifestyle.
Sure.
So whether it's 3 or 6 or whatever, we show you how to adjust that. But ideally, if anyone said, just tell me what to do, I would say 5 smaller meals a day.
Yeah. Now, what's the take behind that? Because I hear a lot of people talking about intermittent fasting, and I like both approaches. I've seen both approaches work for certain people, and I've seen both approaches fail for certain people, right? So, what is your guys' take on eating more meals consistently versus doing something like an intermittent fasting approach?
Yeah, well, we think that you should have smaller meals throughout the day because it's continually providing your body the nutrients that it needs. Whereas if you just, let's say you had one really large meal or 2 really large meals a day, and you started one at, late in the morning or whatever, and you weren't able to use all those nutrients that you had in your body because you're not out running a marathon or whatever, a lot of those calories that you just consumed weren't actually being used because you weren't, you couldn't actually be that active to use that one huge meal. But if you're actually taking in smaller meals throughout the day, you continually fueling your body to have the nutrients that it needs to stay energized, full, satisfied, throughout the day. So, I think you made a good point at the beginning. Like, some people do intermittent fasting works for them. Some people, what I just suggested works really good for them. And I think the key is really finding out what works best for you and then tailoring that, to your personal preferences. So we don't really ever say that this workout is, really bad, or this workout or this, meal plan works out a lot better than others, because everyone is different. We try to find out, what's your lifestyle like? What are your challenges that you have in your life? Those obstacles, what are your personal preferences? And then try to kind of mold it specifically for them. And we take a real personal approach. So it's not like we're just selling someone information saying, all right, best of luck, trying to follow that and stay motivated. We're really trying to give them guidelines, teach them, and then also really offer them the support, ongoing motivation, holding them accountable. And we do that through our online community, which is, included in our program. So.
Very cool. I think that's a great way to go about it. I think it's a challenging way to go about that, and I'm sure you've had to build quite a big structure underneath you in order to support that kind of system. But I think that accountability and that customization is really important because, like we just talked about intermittent fasting, I like intermittent fasting, but I've seen people just horribly fail on it because I'm not going to eat all day. I'm not going to eat all day. Dinner time shows up and it's just cheesecake and donuts time. You know what I mean? Like they can't control their hunger anymore, and they just go for whatever's in front of them. So that's definitely not a road to success. So, Chad, when you take people into your community, kind of explain the process. Do you have an intake process that people can use to kind of figure out where they are at as far as like how many calories they should consume, what types of workouts they should be doing, so on and so forth? What would like a beginner coming to you see?
Yeah, so when they sign up for the program, they'll go into our community and they'll register their new account. And then one of the first steps is to actually fill out their profile. So they're adding their age, their weight, their height, all their personal information, such as food preferences, if they have any injuries or allergies, how active they are, their fitness level, all those different things that actually determine how many calories you should have per day and how often you should work out and at what level you should start working out, all those different things. So once they fill out their profile, then we recommend the next best steps. And so they're getting a plan that's actually realistic to the time and equipment that they have available or don't have available. If they don't have a gym or if they don't have free weights or whatever, we're showing them how, all right, you can use body weight exercise or just go spend $5 and get some resistance bands because this is what's going to fit best for you. So that's the first step, is just telling us all about you, and then we're going to get you use our guidelines to help mold a program that's perfect for you. So
yeah, that's good. That's just a personalized approach again. It sounds like that's kind of your credo, is just take a really personalized step towards each person.
Yeah, I would say it's two-part. One is taking a real personalized approach. You got to get a program that's customized, a good custom fit for you, but also you need that personal support from others to give you support and encouragement, to hold you accountable, to share other ideas. And I think that's why a lot of people have really good success on our program, is because they're in our community with others that are on the same exact program, that are going through the same struggles, that are also having successes that they can share. And our whole community is on a point system, so the more active you are and the more encouragement you give others, the more success you make, the more points you're getting, and you add these points up and you get free products and services and stuff like that. So it's a real motivating thing, and it's also a way to incentivize others to give you a lot of encouragement and hold you accountable and share ideas and experiences with you. So it's a big kind of happy community place. Everyone's kind of all wants the same thing, to lose weight, to get healthier, to live a healthy lifestyle. So they all have the same goal, and they're all kind of helping each other. So it's a pretty powerful thing.
That's really cool. I like how you mentioned accountability there. It's really funny. I was actually recently reading a research study on accountability, and it was done on, it was as a small group, like 250 people or something like that, and they divided them into 5 different groups. And the first group was just told to think about your goal and kind of rate it in order of importance of your goals and things like that. Just think about it. And the last group was told to write it down, rate it, create a plan behind each goal, tell your friend, and give weekly updates. And the first group that had a goal in mind but didn't do anything, they succeeded 43% of the time. And the group 5 that did all that stuff was succeeding 76% of the time. So it's just amazing how much you can increase your odds of success just by becoming accountable to other people and by having weekly progress updates. Do you guys do like frequent updates as well?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the contests, we have contests both weekly, we have weekly challenges, monthly contests, and then quarterly contests. And one of our most popular contests is what we call our Teamwork Challenge, where everyone has a week to sign up and commit to the next 30 days to do this Teamwork Challenge. And so, we'll get however many people, a few hundred people signing up for this challenge, and then we'll randomly put them into teams of 3. And so you'll have a team, you'll select a team name or whatever, get acquainted with each other in the online community, and then you're competing to try to accrue the most amount of points throughout those 30 days. And how you get points is checking into the website and going over the daily tasks. We call them our 7 tasks to reaching your fat loss goal. So drinking enough water, including a protein source at each meal, choosing natural carbs instead of processed ones. And when you go through this checklist, you're getting points for each of these things, and your team's getting points. So when you're on a team of 3 and you're going through each day and you have to check these things off, and you have 2 other people that are relying on you and checking in on you to make sure you do that, it's a pretty powerful thing, especially when we set this daily checklist up for these are the things that you need to do to succeed. So a lot of people get really overwhelmed by, I have this 3-month goal or this 1-month goal because I got to lose all this weight and stuff, and it gets really, really overwhelming. But when you back it out and take it down to just daily tasks, and then you have a couple of people on your team that are competing, that are holding you accountable to those tasks, it's really, really powerful, and people love that Teamwork Challenge. And so the people at the end of the 30 days that have accrued the most points, then we have prizes. We've given away, treadmills and stair steppers, vacations, all sorts of stuff. So it becomes a pretty competitive yet really fun thing, and the people just get awesome results because of that accountability.
That's really cool. I like what you mentioned there as far as the daily checklist. I wrote a book called The 27 Body Transformation Habits, and I have the Lean 15 checklist in there, and we focus on getting them consistent with the first 6 things, which is water, sleep, walking, exercise, vegetables, and protein. Right? I mean, just really simple stuff like that can make a huge transformation in the long run if you're consistent on the basics, So I really like that approach. It sounds like we have a very similar approach to trying to get people to make a consistent and continuous transformation throughout their lives.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool.
So Chad, I want to get a little controversial here for a second. So you mentioned calories, right? We have to look at calories when people want to lose weight. And there's a lot of people out there who say calories don't matter, it's just the carbs, or calories don't matter, you have to regulate blood sugar, or this and that. What's your kind of argument against that? Because I know that there's a lot of people saying that. There's a lot of people saying it's all about calories, and I think the reality is that it's somewhere in the middle. So what's your take on all that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think calories absolutely do matter. It's simple math, really. You have to expend more calories or burn more calories throughout the day than you consume. There's just no other way to slice it, or you won't lose weight. But our stance is, although that math equation is absolutely essential, you don't need to count calories every day to accomplish that. Right. And when you go through this daily task and you follow our guidelines, like choosing natural carbs instead of processed ones, or drinking lots of water instead of other high-calorie drinks, and drinking several smaller meals, and you're planning your meals in advance. When you go through these daily checklists, you're going to be on a caloric deficit if you just follow the plan. So you don't need to be, counting all your different calories. I think it's okay in the first, week or so that you become familiar with how many calories, each of these foods are, because a lot of people don't realize, how caloric dense some foods are versus the others. So it can be a good learning experience if you start counting calories for a couple of weeks. But I think in the long run, if you're really obsessive about all the calories that you consume throughout the day, it's just not at all realistic. So we believe that calories do count. I mean, it's, like I said, a simple math, but in order to be successful, if you follow our plan and just go through those daily tasks, you don't at all have to count calories. Just follow the plan.
Right. So it sounds like it's more about creating a habit out of consuming less and becoming comfortable with consuming less than it is about like saying, oh, I had exactly 1,350 calories today and my baseline is 1,900 or something like that, right?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah, that's a good approach, because I feel like a lot of people who say, calories don't matter, it's just that they either have good genetics, a crap load of muscle mass so they can get away with eating a lot of food, or they're not in good shape at all, and they just keep saying that over and over again while they still don't gain, still don't look any better. So I kind of feel like people fall into those categories when they talk about that stuff. And more I'm becoming cognizant of the fact that it all matters. Every little thing does matter across the thing. It's just a matter of getting people consistent on the little steps first, and then branching them out to more complex things as they get considered. Because let's get real, if somebody can't drink enough water, and cut out the beverages that they're drinking, that's like one of the first steps. Nothing else needs to be taken until we figure that step out.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And each of the steps are so simple on their own. It's just a matter of getting in the habit of doing. And you can start with 3 or 4 of the steps to begin, or even just one step, and then just gradually work up to it. But yeah, I think that's the key, just breaking it down to simple steps like that.
Yeah. So since you've been doing this for so long, Chad, can you share with us just some powerful tips on what you feel like are the most effective, simple things that people can do in order to get the best results?
Yeah. So I guess one of the things that really comes to mind that we really try to help people with is being prepared, planning each day. And so what we teach people to do is, pick one day out of the week. Personally, I like to do it on Sunday, to spend the afternoon grilling up, a bunch of chicken, steaming a bunch of vegetables, making a big crock pot of oatmeal, whatever. Just planning the meals out in advance so that when it's, a busy morning, you're rushing with the kids or whatever, all your meals are already prepared in the refrigerator. So then you can just go in and put the right types of foods together, like I said earlier, a starchy carb with a protein and a healthy fat. All of them are already in Tupperware or whatever. And it just makes it so simple. I think the problem that a lot of people have is that they're still trying to learn the program, and they have a busy work day. They have kids that they got to rush off to school, whatever, and they're just not prepared.
Right.
But when you take the time to plan and prepare, I think that's just so key. And that goes for everything. I mean, when you have, a lot of people think when they go on a diet or whatever, they can't go out to any social functions, or can't even go to a game with my son and have a beer and peanuts like I used to want to. But if you're planning in advance, there's absolutely no reason why you can't go to a party and have a beer and have a dessert and everything. It's as simple as earlier in the day, maybe you're getting a little bit more strict with your nutrition. Maybe you're doing a 20-minute extra workout, so your calories are a little bit less. You're expending a little bit more calories, so that when time you get to the party, you've already in a greater caloric deficit, and you can just relax and say, all right, I'm going to have that beer and cake. And I'm going to go to the party, not totally starved, ready to devour anything in sight. I'm having a snack maybe on the way or whatever, or I'm taking a margarita mixer that I made on my own with Crystal Light and fresh lemon juice rather than
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just being prepared, and just having that mindset that when you go into it, that I've already made the commitment that this is what I'm going to enjoy, and this is what's helped me prepare to get there so that I can enjoy it. So I would say planning and preparing is one of the biggest things that people need to really get in the habit of. One of the techniques that we teach people in our program is, I call it kind of the 3-minute trick in the morning, is just evaluating your day yesterday. What mistakes did you make, and what successes did you have? So someone might look at yesterday and say, all right, I chose really good foods out at this restaurant, but I really overate. And so then the exercise is to, okay, well, how did that make you feel, and what could you have done differently next time? So when you're evaluating your yesterday and you're planning your today, you can look and say, all right, today I'm going to make those healthy food choices, and once I start to feel comfortably full, I'm going to put my fork down, I'm going to have a large glass of water, and I'm going to push away and see if I still am really hungry. And if I'm not, then good, problem solved. So I think it's really reflecting on the mistakes that you made, and instead of saying, oh shoot, I totally blew it, I'm just gonna start over on Monday, it's saying, all right, how can I learn from that mistake and get right back on track immediately. And another part of the exercise is saying, all right, what obstacles could I have in my day that could derail me, which could be cookies in the office meeting today, or it could be a party later at night. So you're just coming up with a plan. All right, what would help me overcome that obstacle? So it's maybe bringing a healthy, own homemade cookie recipe that you'll have while other people are enjoying, the Oreos at the office, or it's having a snack and a large glass of water on the way to that party, so that you arrive comfortably, not full, but comfortable, not just ready to devour anything and everything in sight. So, like I said, it's just each day, just kind of being mentally prepared of what's to come, what are the obstacles that could derail you, and what are the things that could help you overcome those obstacles. And when you get in that state where you're always kind of prepared, it just makes everything so much simpler.
That's so powerful. I'm so happy you mentioned that, because not a lot of people talk about preparation, and it is so important. Like, one of the things I find that helps me become successful is, you call it preparation, I call it pre-framing. When I'm going into a situation that I know is challenging, I pre-frame and I'm going to have this, and this, and then I just go do that. And it's so much easier than going in there and be like, I'm just going to see what happens, because seeing what happens always goes wrong. That's never something good. I wrote down something the other day that really matches this too. I wrote down, it is through logical planning, repeated failure, and painful self-awareness that we achieve success. And I think that's exactly what you're saying. It's just wake up in the morning. What did I do wrong yesterday? Let's stick to the plan today, and let's keep self-reflecting until we achieve success. Because a lot of times, let's be honest, people go on a diet, they fail one day, and they say, oh, it's not even worth it, right? Instead of just using that as a tool to move themselves forward, they use it as a tool to quit. And it sounds like you're really just, hey, be self-aware, and then just get back to the plan and learn more about yourself, which to me is the key to building success and long-term transformation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You absolutely, like I mentioned earlier, you absolutely have to enjoy yourself. And that includes parties, that includes desserts, that includes going out to a restaurant with your family. But if you strike a good balance and you're prepared ahead of time, like if you're going out to a restaurant with your family and you go online to the website, and look at the healthier choices and go ahead and make that commitment of what I'm going to choose before I get to the restaurant, and say, all right, I'm sticking to this, and I'm going to have a little snack before I get there so I don't lose control. It's just so much easier when you get to the restaurant, rather than just kind of winging it when you get there and people are ordering appetizers and they're ordering this and that, and people in front of you are ordering nachos and big greasy cheeseburgers and stuff. It's hard to stick to the plan. But if you've already kind of, like you said, pre-framed before you get there, and you're the first one to order and stick to that plan, it just makes it so much easier. Especially when you're still able to order a cheeseburger, you're just saying, all right, hold the cheese, the mayo, and the bacon, and give me a side salad and a set of fries. You're still able to get that burger. And that's where a lot of people, I think, get derailed, is they think they got to have a salad when they're absolutely craving a burger. But if you can just take a few simple things away from that burger, you're still able to enjoy it, but you're just not totally sabotaging your efforts. So, like I said, it's striking that balance between effective and enjoyable so that it's long term.
Awesome, man. That's so fantastic. Well, I ask everybody one final question on the podcast, Chad, and that question is, you've been successful in the online world, you've been successful in the offline world. What is your secret to success, my man?
I think, man,
preparation.
There's a few different things that come to mind, but I would say stick to what you're really good at, and get others to do what you're not good at. For the longest time, probably the first 10 or 15 years of my career, I tried to be a one-man show and wore all the different hats of everything, and I was only good at a couple things, and it just took away from everything that I was trying to accomplish, because I wasn't really able to focus on the things I was good at. I was spending a lot of time with the stuff that I was really crappy at, and it really hurt my business. So now I've got a team where we got a really good guy in split testing. We got a project manager. We got other guys that are all really focused in owning their department and really good at what they do. So I can just focus on what I'm really good at, and that allows me to get my flow. And it makes for a lot funner day too, because I'm pretty passionate about creating new content and programs and stuff like that, and allows me to just get my flow and do my thing, rather than worrying about affiliate payments and split testing and accounting and all those other things.
Oh man, I hear you on that one. I hear you on that one. Do what you do best and find the best to do the rest, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's very well put.
Oh, fantastic, man. Well, Chad, I really appreciate you taking the time today. Where can people find you? Where can people find this program we've been talking about on the call?
Yeah, so if you go to fasttracktofatloss.com and then just /FT as in fast track, that's probably the best place because we're just launching a new sales page and it's got a new, really special offer here. We're delivering everyone what we call our fast track approved healthy snacks and supplements. There's a lot of things that are just loaded with sugar and high fructose corn syrup and stuff like that. And so we've handpicked this kind of box of all the healthiest snacks and supplements, all the things that are really good for you. And we're doing this kind of joint venture partnership with a company called Blue Box. That's what they do, is they deliver different healthy snacks and stuff. And they have thousands of different products that they deliver each month in these boxes. But we've actually handpicked what we believe are the best ones, put them in this box. We struck a deal with them where anyone who signs up for our program gets this box delivered right to their doorstep, and it doesn't cost the customer, the new customer of our program, anything. No shipping. There's no obligation to continue in a subscription or nothing. It's absolutely 100% free. So that's where I would suggest people go to, because they'll get that offer. fasttracktofatloss.com /FT. F as in Frank, T as in Tom.
Awesome, man. Very cool. I'll post a link below the show. You guys can check that out if you want. You can check out Chad's program. So, Chad, thank you so much for your time and sharing your wisdom with us.
Yeah, thank you, Tyler. I really appreciate it. It was fun.